What's up, everybody? Colton Posey here, and I'm going to talk to you about how to catch these bass during them cold front conditions. Stay tuned. Colton Posey Fishing is brought to you by All Things Outdoors Podcast. We got you covered from the woods to the water. Let's go catch something. All right, everybody. So we're talking cold front conditions. I'm talking about what happens after the cold front, not before or during. So basically, what happened the other day, the water temperatures were in the low 70s. We had a cold front come through and rain for 2 days. 2 days straight. So we go to the river, Warrior River, the next day, and the water temperature has plummeted to 58 degrees. And it's cooler, going further upriver. So this is how we caught those fish, and this is how I find those fish during this time of year, or really any cold front condition. So here we go. Okay, guys. So here's what I'm going to show you. This right here was where we was actually catching fish. This long winding bend right here. See the red? What we did, we actually went down this bank several times, and what happens is there is a creek channel, as you can see in white, that runs right through here. So with that current pushing through there and the wind on top of that, these fish would just be isolated on certain areas of this bank. So what we did, we started out with worms and everything else. We thought the fish might be closer towards the bottom. So what we actually did, we swapped to a crankbait because of the current and the wind, and slow rolling them over these rocks, around these pads, grass. There was just, the main thing about this bank, it had riprap from one side to the other. And what happens, that sun from the day will heat up them rocks, and those fish during the night and early morning and stuff, they'll push right up against them rocks to stay warm. So what we did, we just went back and forth on this bank, and we found that the fish were actually isolated on certain pieces of cover. So we would get somewhere on this riprap bank, there would be, let's just say right here, there would be a little bit of grass. Well, there would be 4 or 5 fish stacked in that grass, so we would catch 4 or 5 fish and go further down. There'd be another patch of grass or lily pads, and we would catch 4 or 5 more fish. So during the cold front conditions, always look for rocky banks. That is a must. That's going to hold a lot of fish just because of the warmth. The shad do the same thing, so they will be on them banks that has the riprap on it, and the fish are going to feed off of that. Plus, with it being late fall, the crawfish is a big time player this time of year. The bass will actually feed on crawfish as much as they possibly can for a lot of different reasons. The proteins and stuff they get off of them, it really makes them healthy. So rocks is definitely a must. The only thing I would suggest is do not just go a few feet down the bank, stop and leave. We fished this whole bank from about right here, where you can see me cutting in off the creek channel. We fished it from right there all the way down here, all the way to the very end, and we only found maybe 5 spots on this whole bank that held fish, but we went down it, we caught several fish, we turned around and went back up current and caught several fish. And then we got in this area right here where it's all scratched up and caught, I don't know how many off of that one spot facing up current. So that's another thing too. If people say you've got to go up current to catch fish, that's not exactly true. You don't have to. Is it better? Yes, it gives it a lot more natural presentation. more than likely you're going to get bit more often than not if you do go up current. But in certain situations, it's good to position your boat to where you can fish comfortably, because if you're not comfortable, you're not going to catch fish anyways. So that is what I do on cold front conditions, and I'm going to show you my baits, so stay tuned. Okay guys, one thing that I did forget to mention, a lot of times on these cold front conditions, them fish will actually, if they're placed right up on the bank, if this is the bank, they will position themselves right up against the bank on the rocky areas. Well, if you're not in a rocky area and that fish lives on it, a lot of times they will move out, 5 or 6, 7 feet and suspend over that open water. That's kind of what we had a little bit too. They wasn't positioned right on the rocks. Some of them was during the part of the day that we was up there, but later on they kept starting to push out a little bit further and a little bit further, so we kept just backing the boat out and we would catch them right on that ledge. So stay tuned. Here's the baits that I use. Okay guys, for the baits that I use, when I'm trying to beat up those rocks or anything like that, if those fish are close to the bank, I will use something like this, Arashi Flat Storm, especially when the water temperature plummets. Having something flat makes a world of difference. Instead of that bait having that wobbling action like this, it will have that tight wiggle like a lipless crankbait. So this Arashi Storm, it's a flat-sided crankbait. It's got a circuit board bill on it. It works wonderful. The only customizing I do to this bait, I just change out my hooks to size 6 EWGs. I just seem to get a better hookup like that. So now another crankbait that I like to use a lot when you get on them rocks, the Spro Rock Crawler. This thing works miracles in rocks. It's made to deflect off of cover. This bait right here is just awesome, but the thing about it is it's not like summer, so don't think I gotta burn it, I gotta burn it, I gotta burn it. Let it hit bottom. Reel it pretty quickly to get it down to bottom, but once it hits bottom, just slow roll it. You'll feel it just rolling over them rocks. And 9 times out of 10, you're not going to feel a don't. You're going to feel that. It's like it just stops. You're not going to feel like it's a bite or anything else like that. You'll lift your rod up and it'll start going. So, them are the 2 crankbaits that I use. I'm going to move on and show you the other ones. Okay, guys, so now we're talking about if those fish start moving out later on in the day and they're suspending over that open water column, whether it's on a ledge or they're actually moved out in the channel suspended. So that's where your electronics come into play. You definitely, if you stop getting bit close to the bank, you want to be eyeballing them electronics and looking to see where the fish have moved. They're still there, I guarantee it. They've just moved. So 3 lures that I use to chase those suspended fish this time of year. One is an old school Bill Lewis rattle trap. Now this is like a white shad color. This time of year, shad's going to be your main forage, so I like this one. I want something with a lot of rattles. It's got a ton of tiny little rattles that drives them into a feeding frenzy a lot of times if you can't get them to bite. What I like to do with this, I'll throw it out there. As soon as it hits the water, I just start slow reeling it. One of the reasons I want it to sink slowly as I'm reeling it and then come back up when it gets closer to the boat. A lot of times that'll get you a strap. The second thing that I like to use, if they're closer up in the water column, I like a standard square bill. This is the Rick Clunn series by Lucky Strike. The only difference is this is called the Rattler. So it's actually got a few little rattles in there, so it's something a little different that the fish don't see a lot, because if you have rising water or cold fronts, a lot of times there's a lot of rain that push in from it. So the Rattler will help in that muddy water situations. The other thing that I like to use, this is a Strike King 1.5 flat-sided square bill. This is a deep diver. It will get down to like 6 to 8 foot. Perfect for those suspended fish that are at like 10 or 12 foot. that goes right over the top of them. A lot of times, if you can't get a fish to bite by going through them, go over the top of them. Never go under them. If you go under them, you're probably not going to get bit. So guys, that's how I fish cold front conditions. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe and like. Appreciate it, guys. Rugged Jigs, the champion's choice.
You know he's mad.
Impulse Rods, fish the moment.